Hi everyone, I'm Dina with Mills Family Gardening. We just survived an extremely hot and dry summer that lasted for several months, and now we're at the end of October with a 40-degree weather, cold wind, and we just recently had 9 inches of rain. But in this video, we're going to talk about our Roma tomato. If you remember, back in the summer, we made an update on it and showed you how it looked at the end of the summer. And now we'd like to show you how it looks now. It did survive the summer compared to all of the other tomatoes that we had in the ground, and it helped that it was in the shade most of the day and it was getting the sun only in the morning for about an hour or 2 hours. This Roma tomato has been on drip irrigation the whole time, and what I believe helped it survive our extremely hot summer and all that stress was that I've been fertilizing it with fish fertilizer and more bloom the whole summer during the heat. A lot of people ask questions whether we need to fertilize our plants during the extremely hot months of the year, and my experience showed me that I do need to fertilize my plants so that they would be strong enough to withstand that heat and stress of summer. And since our summer here in North Texas zone 8A was extremely dry and hot, this plant did not grow at all. It was in a surviving mode. It never set flowers, it never set fruit, but at the same time it did not die because of all the factors that I mentioned earlier. And now that the temperatures have gone down, it started blooming again and setting fruit. But the bad news is that tonight our temperature is gonna go down to the low 30s, and then tomorrow night and the next few nights it will be below freezing, and that's a sure way for the tomato plant to die. For that reason, I'm going to bring it into the garage just for the plant to survive those really cold nights, and then our temperature is gonna go up back into the 70 degrees Fahrenheit during the day and then 50 degrees during the night, and at that temperature it should go back to blooming and producing. Now our temperature does go below freezing and stays like that during the winter for a longer time, so our tomato plant is not going to bloom and produce at that temperature. So at some point I will have to let it go and let it die. But I am going to try to keep this Roma tomato alive as long as possible. You can see that it's looking very healthy because, like I said, I've been fertilizing with liquid fish fertilizer and more bloom. You can see that it's setting fruit. Right here we have little tomatoes and they're spread out all over the plant. We see that the leaves are dark green and look healthy. Some leaves do look a little bit yellow, so I'll have to trim those. And I'll have to trim the plant in general just to let more air inside of the tomato so that no diseases will be breeding on those leaves. This container looks like it might be infested with fire ants. You see this little pile here? It looks that the fire ants got into the container and started building a nest. Normally we treat fire ants with boiling water, but I'm not going to do it now because boiling water might hurt the roots of the plant and the tomato will die. For that reason, I do another method of disturbing fire ants. I simply get a stick and dig in their nest as deep as I can with a stick, and that bothers them. Then I leave them alone for a day. Then I come back again next day and bother them with a stick again, and I do it a couple of times, and usually that's enough for fire ants to get the message that this is not a friendly place for them to build their nest, and they leave this place pretty soon. Actually, I did disturb them a couple of days ago, and it seems like they already left this container. I don't see any activity of fire ants here, so that's a good thing. So if you have fire ants in your containers, you can simply take a stick and disturb them a couple of times, and that should be enough to make them go away. While the weather is decent, I'm going to keep fertilizing this tomato with fish fertilizer and more bloom about once every couple of weeks. And also I tied this tomato plant with jute. You can see it right here, so the branches would be more organized and upright. So as it keeps growing, I'm going to add another layer of jute around it just to keep the branches from falling over. I also would like to show y'all our pepper plant that also survived our hot summer. And you can see that it's not as bushy. It doesn't have as many leaves or fruit or peppers on it. And the reason is that I did not move it into the sun soon enough. It stayed in the area that got a lot of shade, and that is why it's not as bushy and it's not thriving. So it's a very good example of how important it is to move your containers around your garden depending on the season and the intensity of the sun. I moved this tomato plant into the sun earlier as soon as the temperature started going down, but this pepper plant stayed in the shade longer. That is why it's not thriving. So we just wanted to give you a quick update on our Roma tomato that we planted back in April, that it survived summer and is doing well. And in spite of being a determinate variety of tomatoes, it's still producing. So if you're thinking of growing tomatoes in containers, Roma variety is a very good candidate for container gardening. If you take good care of your Roma tomatoes, they'll be producing for a long time. I hope you enjoyed this video and have a great day.